They'll probably introduce it.
Press conference, not this many people.
What's wrong with it?
Jealous.
You don't really want to be out front on this one, do you?
No. I did tell her, I said that.
How much are they?
That's a good question.
It is.
Wow.
I had two of them. I had a blue one, and it's like a sock. It disappeared in the water.
My dad's a big Florida fan.
I'm an old person.
Oh, okay. My dad didn't go to school there, but he grew up. So he was my dad's 83, so he was a big
Well, they weren't that great when I was there. I graduated there. They hired a Spurrier.
So did you overlap with him?
No.
He came right after.
Yeah. I graduated in spring. Hired a couple of months later.
So who was the coach?
Well, Gabriel Clark was there. And I mean, they were pretty much mediocre the whole time I was there. They were Freddie games.
Spurrier really did. All right.
Yeah.
It's great weather. It's playing
Well, yeah.
They told me to come over here.
They've abandoned you.
I know they want me to handle all the engineering.
Well, is there anything new? I'll ask my questions.
Well, I honestly don't know if there's anything because I don't know. But they did give us a rundown. It was news to me. It's not just going to be me and you. Okay? Adrian, I saw a picture you took. Some national publication or something. Oh, is that what you thought? Harvard Town? Yeah. Was it some national? Maybe that was it. Yes, that's it. Yeah.
You open it up?
Y'all ready? All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Clay Bright. I'm the Commissioner of Transportation for the state of Tennessee. I appreciate you being here today. I had a few brief remarks I want to make before I turn it over to Governor Lee and Governor Hutchinson, who is with me today. And I appreciate both of them being with them and with me today and the support they're giving us. So to give you just a quick recap of where we are since last Tuesday, we got the call from Arkansas DOT last Tuesday about the fracture on the bridge, about 2 o'clock that afternoon. We have been working on this project ever since then, around the clock. Our engineers got on board immediately, working with Arkansas DOT and our consultants to figure out what we needed to do to make sure this bridge is safe going forward. We have got 3 goals here. One was to open up the bridge for barge traffic, which we did that in conjunction with the U.S. Coast Guard Friday morning at about 9 o'clock, and as of Saturday evening, about 800 barges had cleared the queue, so they were off and running there. Our second priority that we have here is opening the bridge for vehicular traffic, and the third priority that goes along with that second one is to complete the inspection on the bridge and to make sure and look for any long-term issues that may be related to this failure. We're going to look over the whole bridge in conjunction with Arkansas DOT. So our first phase in this fix for the bridge repair is where we're going to be having some plates, 35-foot long plates, steel plates going on each side of the fracture beam that's the lowest member on the bridge that you see over there. We've got an arrangement with Stuck Bridge out of Bowling Green, Kentucky. They have the materials available. In fact, they're working this morning and this right now as far as the final design on those plates, so we can put that into fabrication. Our expectation is to have that fabricated Wednesday and Thursday of this week. TDOT has trucks ready to go on standby with help support vehicles also to go pick up the material, the 2 plates, which weigh about 18,000 pounds, and bring them directly to the job site. So our Phase 2 design is also underway. Phase 2 is going to enable us to put equipment in, the resources in, to span that fracture, to be able to cut the fracture out and replace the fracture with a brand new material. So we're working on that right now. So we've been working, as I said, in conjunction with TDOT. RDOT has been great to work with. We have a 4 o'clock call every afternoon with all the designers. Michael Baker International is part of that group. HNTV, Federal Highway is part of that. And we have been working on this around the clock, as I said, since Tuesday afternoon, coming up with these fixes for Phase 1 and Phase 2 and the approach that we have. So I certainly want to thank all of that team for rolling up their sleeves and what they have done today. As you may have heard, yesterday afternoon, we told you we would get contractor input proposals on Monday afternoon. We made the selection yesterday afternoon. We went to contract with them yesterday. Our construction manager, general contractor that's going to be on the project is Kiewit Infrastructure. So they were on our 4 o'clock call yesterday on the design call. They had some input on those plates that would make it easier to put that plate in and quicker for them to put the plate in. So that's what we're tweaking today in the shop drawings with Stuck Bridge is the input from Kiewit, and I look forward to them working on this job and getting this bridge back open sooner on the project. They're mobilizing right now. They'll start showing up tomorrow and Thursday. Their first step is to put work platforms up underneath the bridge so they can work off those platforms, and Phase 1 is going to be installed from the bridge deck down. Phase 2 operation, as far as replacing the fractured material, will be worked off barge from the river up. I certainly appreciate all the support that we have gotten from senators, congressmen, the state legislators, FHWA and USDOT. Everybody has been calling, just offering, how can we help you? And so I appreciate that support, and also I appreciate Mayor Strickland. I've been in daily conversation with him to let him know what's going on, and certainly Governor Bill Lee as far as the support he's given us. Shout out to Memphis Police Department and Tennessee Highway Patrol's support as far as making sure we're taking care of traffic control best we can with all the traffic that's going across 55 right now. I will tell you this, we've had a lot of different people within TDOT working on this. We've had the engineers that I've talked about working around the clock. We've had finance involved as far as how can we procure these materials, still staying within the law, but get these materials on the jobs as soon as we possibly can. Environmental, staying ahead of any environmental issues we have that may slow up the process. That's not going to be a hindrance for us. Our traffic ops are looking at daily as far as the traffic coming across 55, along with our traffic management control center here in Memphis, and our help truck operators who we have stationed on each side of the bridge. So if there's ever an incident that happens on that bridge, we can get that incident cleared as soon as possible and keep the traffic flowing on the bridge. That's what's important to us with the traffic ops, and what we can do within the city of Memphis, within signalization, striping, any extra ramps that we can do to take the burden off the bridge on 55. So Saturday morning, I got received a call from Director Tudor, Lori Tudor from Arkansas. She asked us, and I want to state this very clearly, with an overabundance of caution, if we would look at the I-55 bridge and do a reinspection on that. So we said absolutely. So we're looking at it as far as a third party. So we have gotten all the inspection reports Saturday morning from Arkansas DOT. We've been going through those inspection reports to look at the bridge, see where we may have any sort of concerns with that bridge. And we started 2 drone teams working on that bridge at 11 o'clock today, looking at all these very closely just to make sure that we don't see any issues out there. But again, 55 is safe. We're just doing this as far as an overabundance, and a lot of questions we're getting about I-40. So that's going on right now. I'll end up with this. Safety along this whole way is a prime utmost important to us. First and foremost is safety for the public. Anybody traveling up down our roads, we want the roads to be safe, our roads and bridges to be safe. That's part of our mission statement. But we also want to be safe for our contractors and our workers that are going to be working on this bridge and inspectors. So we have been, and we will continue to work around the clock. And our attitude, the attitude of everybody that's been a part of this, is to do whatever it takes to get this bridge open as soon as possible. So appreciate a few minutes there. I'd like to turn it over to Governor Bill Lee.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Clay, and thank you all for being here. The purpose of today really is Governor Hutchinson and I wanted to come together, bring our teams together publicly to continue to answer questions and to provide information. As Clay said, our number one priority here is the safety of the people that travel across that bridge. The Tennesseans, the Arkansans, the Americans, the truckers, the commerce, everyone that goes across that bridge is dependent upon us to make certain that it's safe, and that is our number one priority. The other priority we have is that commerce move down the river, up the river, and across the bridges. So the combination of teams working together has been very important from the moment that we discovered the crack in the steel. And we have had a concerted effort that has been strong between Tennessee, between Arkansas, but also with the Coast Guard and the U.S. Corps of Engineers and the Highway Department, the Federal Department of Transportation, coordinating with our departments of transportation. That effort together is how we're getting this accomplished, and we're getting it done in a timely fashion. So we will work to repair this in the shortest time possible, but we will not compromise the safety of the workers or the safety of the citizens that will drive across that bridge for the sake of finishing early. We will do this as timely as possible, but we will make sure that we do it in a way that is going to provide safety when it is done. The Chamber, Beverly Robinson's here with the Chamber. Mayor Strickland has been a great partner with us. And Governor Hutchinson from Arkansas called me early on. We communicated with each other about how it is that we could make sure that this mutual interest for both of our states and for the people on both sides of that river, that we solve this expeditiously. And I'm grateful for his commitment and for his working together and for his teams working with us. And glad to come together to express all of this, to give communication. We want to continuously be doing so, but to also answer your questions. But first, Governor Hutchinson.
Thank you, Governor Lee, and I appreciate the invitation to join you in this meeting of our teams today. And the purpose was simply to see, is there anything more we can do to speed up the process in a safe fashion, to make sure that the resources are there, that we're expediting in every way we can consistent with safety. And I want to express thanks for the partnership that we have with Governor Lee and his team. This is not the first issue that we've worked on together, but there's not a more important issue that we've worked on in terms of the flow of commerce and the safety of our citizens. And Governor Lee has been a credible partner in this. And I did want to introduce Alec Farmer to my right, who is our Commissioner of the Arkansas Highway Commission. Lori Tudor is our Director, who has been working on this day in and day out. And this is a critical link for Arkansas. Whenever you see a break in the commerce, whenever you see a defect in a bridge, then you realize how dependent you are on that flow of commerce. And it really impacts the Arkansas side, as some of our Arkansans that came over here today know the delay that's involved. And so we want to act with a sense of urgency, but we also depend upon the safety of that bridge. And so everything that we want to do will be moving with safety as the foremost principle involved. It's going to take some time. We're going to have to be patient. We're going to have to adjust some of our flow patterns, but we're going to work together to get this done as soon as possible and in a safe way to make sure our citizens know that safety is the premium quality that we want to emphasize. This is a critical link for us. We want to get it right. We want to get it back in operation, and it certainly illustrates the importance of our infrastructure here in the United States, the investment in it that's needed, and our mutual commitment. And I want to thank our federal partners. This is not just a state-to-state issue, but it's really a federal link that is important for our national security, whether it's the flow of fuel or whether it is the flow of other necessary items across our country. And so our federal partners are a big part of the equation and the solution for the future. So Governor Lee, thank you for your partnership and letting us join together today to show that we're working together to get this problem solved.
Thank you, Governor. Why don't we open it up for questions?
Yes, Governor Hutchinson, do you have any comment on the firing of the one Arkansas Department of Transportation employee and the investigation to see if anyone else could be reprimanded for this mishap?
Thank you. And the answer is, of course, Director Tudor, she took quick action. She didn't make any excuses. She's been very transparent in this, and I applaud her for that. I think she handled it perfectly well. She reviewed it over the weekend, determined there was responsibility, and took termination action. Secondly, she looked at the processes to make sure that we have the redundant inspections that we need, that we have the checks and balances. So I think she's shown incredible leadership during this time and addressed it in the right way to give the people confidence that this is something that we will take seriously and that we will make sure that we have everything in place for the public safety.
To add on to that, Governor Hutchinson, Director Tudor also said that for this employee, the critical fracture bridges that he had inspected prior, they were going to be re-inspected. Do we know yet how many more bridges we're looking at that might have to be re-inspected in Arkansas?
I don't know the number, but Director Tudor once again took the leadership and said every bridge that this particular inspector looked at, certified was in good shape, is going to be reviewed again. That's the double check that we need. And she, as Commissioner Bright mentioned, called over and said, can you help us to make sure that we have a third party look at the I-55 bridge? Again, just going the extra mile to make sure the public has confidence in the safety. And so there should not be any hesitancy about this. All the inspections will be done and will be looked at as close as imaginable.
Governors, for those wondering in the public, how can this never happen again to the public wondering? What would be your message to them and to Governor Beasley?
Well, I think first of all, you have to take comfort and have confidence in the fact that this defect was discovered. It was discovered through an inspection. And so that should give us all confidence, and immediate action was taken. And the highest priority is the safety of the public. So that in and of itself should speak volumes as to the safety of our bridges, and it will continue to work to make sure that happens. Everybody?
Yeah, I would add that the process worked even when there was a slip in that process. The follow-up provided us with the knowledge that we got so that we didn't have a catastrophic event here.
Well, about 6 weeks ago, you criticized President Joe Biden's infrastructure plan and said that federal funding was not the proper strategy for funding roads and bridges. Have you changed your mind now that federal funding has helped facilitate the repair of the bridge? Actually,
what we need is federal funding from the federal government that is focused on roads and bridges. As you know, the American Rescue Plan expressly prohibits the use of those federal dollars on roads and bridges. And the proposed infrastructure plan includes only about 5.6% of the entire federal relief package to be dedicated to roads and bridges. So I would continue to say that as Congress grapples with what the meaning of infrastructure is, we know clearly what the meaning is, and it's roads and bridges. And that's where the federal dollars that are coming to our states, those dollars should come with the flexibility to spend on our infrastructure of roads and bridges across the country.
This is obviously a serious situation, but there's also a worst-case scenario here that it appears we avoided. How close were we to the worst-case scenario here?
You know, the key there is that we avoided that worst-case scenario, and that through inspection process, we found a repair that needed to be made and will be made, and there was no catastrophe here or no loss of life. That's how it should work. That's how it'll continue to work. Arkansas, Tennessee both have processes in place. We are investing in our infrastructure. Both states are going forward. We hope to do more of that, but what happened here and what we see here is a process that works.
That crack was there for at least 2 years. I've spoken with people, regular folks, who say that even after that bridge is repaired, they're going to be afraid to cross over it. How do you answer that question?
Yep, so we will take all the precautions. We'll do the engineering work, and we'll make sure that we do a repair that is structurally sound and that is secured by engineering, the same engineering means that create and design bridges in the first place. Those are the same processes that we will take to make sure that the repair is safe. And we want people to understand that process. We want to be fully transparent with it. We want them to know how the repairs are being made, how the contracts are being let, what that engineering process is, because we want folks to understand that at the end of the day, this will continue to be a safe travel for them. It's very important to us. One of the reasons we're trying to be as transparent as we possibly can throughout the entire process.
Commissioner Wright, real quick, now that a company has been selected to make the repairs, we've got that two-phase approach with Stuff Bridge Company, and we sort of got a figure of when crews are going to start getting to Memphis. Is there yet a ballpark estimate of how long the repairs are going to take and how much it will cost?
We really don't know. It could be several months easily, but we just don't know. But, I mean, we've got them engaged right now. They're working through the details for Phase 1 and Phase 2. So as we move forward, day by day, week by week, as we get the information, we want to share that with you. But for me to speculate, several months is about all I can tell you right now. But we want to let the public know when we have better information that we can live by.
For both, as a follow-up, just what would be some of the factors to determine the length of time, the severity, et cetera, in terms of the potential window of how long this will take?
The final design will take some time. The shop drawings to do that, who the fabricator will be, or the material, and we're trying to source materials that are readily available out there as far as the whole system that we're putting back in place. just like it was for Stutt Bridge, they stopped everything and put our project in front of everything. So we've got to find the right fabricator that will get us to the front of the line, and having Kiewit Infrastructure as part of that group, they're going to speed up the process, and they're thinking through everything that it's going to take to build that out there and to go through that whole process. But there is a critical path, and we're going to be looking at that critical path all the way through to getting the bridge open about where can we save time and still be safe.
What's your concern for commerce just in the next several weeks if trucks continue? What's the bigger picture national impact of this for commerce?
Well, it's going to affect commerce. We're trying to communicate with the Federal Motor Carriers Association of America to let them know what's going on, the freighters. We're trying to give them advance warning in Missouri, Arkansas, Mississippi, and all the way into Nashville about what's going on here, so the long haulers can make arrangements to get through from one side of the country to the other as best way they can. And, you know, our permitting office within TDOT is working with the overweight, overdimensional loads that are coming through the state and trying to figure out what the best way for them is to get through and not tie up 55. So we're working at all different levels, just like I said with the help truck operators, just to make sure the traffic is flowing as best it can.
To go off of that, more so for the trucking, this is for both governors. Have there been initial or continuing conversations with the Arkansas Tennessee Trucking Association about working with them as we try to get this bridge repaired for them?
And the answer is RDOT is working very closely with the Trucking Association to make sure that they have all the information needed for the truckers to make the right decision. One of the things that we discussed in our planning meeting prior to this news conference was how can we alert the public as far in advance as possible. And so that's the Trucking Association will be working with the trucking companies to look at different logistics means. I know down in Helena, West Helena, the bridge there, that they've had increased traffic through that area. You're going to have different routes that will be run. And then in terms of the commerce of the general public, that's where we need to have our signage up in Little Rock to make sure that as you get on I-40, you know that there's going to be a slowdown as you get toward the Memphis Bridge, so they can make alternative decisions as well. So it's education as well as the transparency that Governor Lee talked about. Finally, in terms of the time frames, you know, Commissioner Bright said it exactly right. We got to wait on the engineering work. But we're going to be monitoring that to make sure that it's done safely and based upon engineering standards, but also that it's done as expeditiously as possible. So that's a good time frame until we get more information.
For both governors, do you guys, are you going to push for a third bridge? Do you see that as a need?
I think right now our primary objective is to get this one repaired. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of conversations about what the future holds infrastructure-wise, but we really are not talking about that. Currently, what we're focused on is getting this bridge repaired.
Governor, I think we have time for one more question.
Okay,
Well,
got
in
one
terms
more?
of cost of this,
Who's not asked a question? We'll go there. Yes, sir.
Given the age of a lot of these interstates, they're getting older, do you expect to see more of these conversations with other bridges that are on the interstates as we go forward?
Well, these two bridges are 50 and 70 years old, I believe. That's right. So we certainly know that the inspection process that we have is very important, and that investing in maintenance of our transportation system is incredibly important. It's why there is a broad conversation about infrastructure work. The state of Tennessee, as you know, invested $240 million through the Improve Act. We've invested $140 million this year in our Transportation Equity Fund. We invested $100 million in this year's budgets that go to counties and cities, and they can use that for infrastructure. All that because our roads and bridges are lifelines for commerce for our states, and investing in that maintenance of those lifelines of commerce and in the expansion of infrastructure, primarily roads and bridges, is incredibly important. It's why we need to continue the conversation about federal funding being focused on bridges and roads, and why it's important that our teams work together as they have to make sure that these kind of incidents are discovered and repaired and don't result in a true safety issue or loss of life to anyone in our two states. We will be continuing to provide updates. Department of Transportation websites have information. We are in fact providing information to residents across both of our states, directing them and informing them. As you enter I-40 back in Nashville, you're directed to consider alternative routes. When you come into Memphis, we're working with business groups across our states so that they can understand the time frame when we know the time frame. We can't know when this bridge will be open yet, but as soon as we begin to understand what that time frame looks like, we'll communicate that so those industry groups can plan and so our citizens can plan. It's a coordinated effort that will take a lot of work and a lot of patience on people's part, but again, we're very glad that this actually was not catastrophic, but that we found it in time and can repair it. Thank you all for getting the information out. You can reach out to our teams and to our departments and to their websites for more and continued updated information, and we'll be providing that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.